Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to ABW Radio Live. I am your host, Chris. As always, I don't change. Sorry about that. I'm joined by two of our regulars, and he's starting to become a regular, dare I say. And he's not on camera today because he's feeling very poorly. So I'm going to introduce him first. Afternoon to you, Abdul. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Good afternoon. How's it going? Thank you so much for having me again.
Always a pleasure, sir. You're feeling feeling a bit poorly. Are you cheered up by 3 points?
Yes.
That's
They did make me work for it though.
Oh God, yeah. Well, it's Arsenal. What do you expect? Come on. I'm also joined by John. Afternoon to you, John, or evening, whatever you prefer.
Afternoon, Chris. Yeah, I don't know. Pre-evening? I don't know what the word
Pre-evening.
is. Yeah,
Well, with our
pre-evening.
sleeping pattern, it's kind of morning, really, isn't it? So
Yeah,
yeah, not
still
together.
get sleep.
I should add. We haven't
Yeah,
slept yet.
stress that clearly.
Let's
Although,
move.
although, although John did say your hair was looking mighty fine earlier,
He did. He did. I'm a bit, a
so
bit.
that's always in the cards.
I'm either concerned or quite happy. I'm not sure which. I'll let you know. Speaking of you, hello, Chase.
Hello, how
Are
are
you
you?
well? I'm all good, mate. Your beard is looking very thorough right now.
It's got a trim on it. Had to do some in a music video for a cousin of mine. I had to do some trims. 'Cause we had some
Right.
reshoots to do.
I
So I've hit the big time.
I don't think we can leave that one just hanging. I think you need to give us some information on this. Sorry, a music video, listeners. This is
Yeah.
this is breaking news. He hasn't even told us this, so I
No,
think we need
no,
some more
my
information.
my cousin is a local sort of hip hop artist
Oh,
here in the area, growing, getting bigger sort of by the show, and he's putting out a new song in a little bit, and asked me to be in the music video for it. So we recorded the first sesh a few weeks ago, and about to go back in for some reshoots, and hopefully to be released just after the new year.
ah.
So or by Christmas, hopefully.
So shall we start calling you 50 Shreds now?
No, no,
No,
no,
no.
Don't
not
forget this when you're famous.
no, and not 50 shreds of gray either. That's
50 Shreds
that would
of,
that would be
of
further off the truth as well. I'll just stick with I'll take ginger beard. I'll take Captain Redbeard. I'll take the shreds. I'll take Schrader. I'll take
Mer-
anything but 50 shreds.
Merkerman. It's fine. It's all good. Well, if anyone can come up
Slim
with a,
Schrader.
if,
Just shout it out in the chat. That's
I
a
was
good
going to
one.
say, if you got any ideas in the chat, then please send them our
I've got
way.
this
But
brilliant image now with Jace sitting there drinking some Hennessy with many, many. I'll say ladies. I won't use the term that's used in the hip
no,
hop
no,
in the
no,
hip hop
please
world.
don't.
Yeah.
We're a family show. But yeah, Jace giving it all the big kind of yeah, yeah, yo, yeah. Anyway, we should probably move on
This
because
is
I can hear Danny screaming from his bed now. Get on with it, you twats! I can hear it now. Right, okay, let's get it Arsenal then. So 3-1 victory. Let's get initial thoughts from you all as usual. Abdul, do you want to kick us off? What was your thoughts today, goods or bads?
So I think it was classic Arsenal. 3 points in the bag, very average performance, but after 3 games without a win, we'll take it. I think that the scoreline was flattering to Arsenal, but I think we had enough to grind it out, and sometimes you just need to grind it out, and I think that's what we've needed in the past 3 games, and we got it today.
Yeah, absolutely. Jace, what was your thoughts on today? Have you got anything that you particularly stood out for you?
uh, maybe just I mean, we were probably pretty poor for a lot of the game, and then we came back and had a good 20-25 minutes there. I think it's one of since the narrative right now is the fact that we've lost so much and not had a great November and coming into December. It's really tough to sort of change the narrative, but at the same time, I think if we'd been winning these closer games throughout November, people would be like, "Oh, this is what a championship team does." Unfortunately, it doesn't feel like today's win qualifies for that. It just feels like we're just lucky to get one right now. So the good news is we are still second, and even after today's performance, it was a champion. Correct.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's a win. A win's the most important element of today. I think. John, what was your
Yeah.
thoughts on what you saw today?
I've got to agree with MC Schrader. The
It's not going to get old, is it?
No, that joke's a girl from It was a weird game that weirdly Sunderland sort of they put in the Arsenal performance as a sort of game where they probably had the best chances and didn't take them. And Arsenal was the goals we scored. Two of them were very good goals, but we didn't really create many clear-cut chances. I thought Sunderland definitely had the better opportunities, but the most important thing was just getting a result today. We knew we were going to be struggling because we just didn't have that many players, and the ones that we did have, a lot of them were coming back off an injury, so you didn't know exactly how they're going to perform. So just for now, until you get everyone back, it's just, can you get 3 points every week is probably more important than the performance. I think Jace made a really good point about if you win a game and it's scrappy, and it's consistently that you do that, then people say, oh yeah, that's the way to win a league. That's how you get a win in the league when you're playing badly. But it is at the moment just sort of grasping for any sort of result we can get because of the previous games.
Yeah, good point. I think Man United would have been quite happy with a scrappy 1-0 win today, by the way. Or some other team from up the road. I don't know what they're called, Sunday League side. Jace, coming back to you, John made the point, obviously, that the 3 points was the most important element. Do you subscribe to the idea that we should be performing better? I mean, obviously, we haven't really performed in recent weeks and we've not got points. Whereas today, okay, I thought for long periods we were quite average, but as John says, we got the points. Do you subscribe to the idea that we have to put in a good performance as well?
I'm probably not as. I think that's and not to sound derogatory, but I think the John's way of you have to put in a good performance and get the 3 points. The way sort of Wenger feels is that's all well and good while you're winning. But as soon as the performances don't match, you need to get a win, and you need to do whatever you can to get a win to get back on that track. So I don't mind us doing like we did when we went to City a few years ago and being much more defensive-minded and trying to hit them on the break. I think we've got enough speed in the team that we can play that well. Because you can see right now, especially with our defense looking a little spongy and porous at times with a few holes in it. Sometimes maybe we need to just be a little more compact and sit back a little bit more and look to hit people on the break and not necessarily try to boss possession of the game. And we've seen our ability to do that from time to time and play well and consistently well like that, as we did a little bit at times last season and the year before. So I think 3 points are what's required. However you get to them. I'm not saying we should park the bus every single week like some blue team south of us, but at the same time we need to make sure that we're getting 3 points consistently, especially from teams who we should be beating, like Norwich and like West Brom and things like that. We need to make sure we're not dropping 2 or 3 points in those games, because those, as much as we talk about the games against the Big Four, it's championship sides don't drop points against bottom teams, and that's where you really win is how your form is on the bottom 6 to 8. And right now ours isn't good, which has me worried, but at the same time, there's still a lot of football left to play.
Yeah, absolutely well said. Abdul, just sort of looking at the lineup today, there was a lot of speculation as, would Chambers play in midfield? Will we change our system? In the end, it was, I think, pretty much what everyone expected. Players coming back today, Oxlade-Chamberlain making the start, Ramsey making the start, and Joel Campbell back into the side. Were you happy with the lineup based upon sort of, how we started the game?
Yeah, it was the best lineup we could have put out. So there were no surprises. I was pretty happy with what I saw, just because that is literally all we could have lined up as. I was happy to see Ramsey get a shot in the middle. I'm a huge Ramsey fan, and Campbell over Gibbs is the more positive option. Even though Campbell scored today, I still don't think he's Arsenal quality. But other than that, I don't see much wrong with the lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned Joel Campbell there. I mean, I know John's got the same views on him as well. I mean, do you still think that even with players coming back, do you still think he's got an opportunity to potentially, sort of play for not a career place, but play for a future at Arsenal? Would you like to see him, for example, stay in the lineup when we go to Olympiacos?
Oh yeah, of course. I think we should be utilizing the depth of our squad if we're going to talk about it. And I'm sure even though Wenger wanted him out, with him in the squad, I can't imagine Wenger after the game saying, "Well, Joel, well played, but you're still not in my thoughts." Like, if Campbell can turn it around, then that would be great for us. So if as long as he keeps scoring and producing, it doesn't really matter what I think or what John thinks. It's what the results matter. So
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, John, I will ask you what you think on this certain occasion. So you can have your views on this one. So we obviously start the game. It's I don't know what the word to describe it is. Not lethargic, but we seem nervous. We seemed edgy, which you'd like to have think would have kind of faded away when we got the first goal. Just kind of talk me through your thoughts on that opener and how we were sort of performing at that point in time.
It was interesting because I thought we've talked about this off air previously, where as soon as we lost Coquelin, I thought we'd have to change the style of play we have, even when we had Santi in this team still, because the two of them together have such a good partnership and they really dictate the pace of the team. And not that we didn't play fast with those two in the side, we could definitely do that and press high at the pitch, but we were a lot more controlled in possession because Santi is that sort of player. When you put Ramsey in there, who for me I think should still play centrally anyway, but I'd play the team differently. There you go. What do I know? I'm not a manager. We started really quick today, and I was really excited because I saw Ramsey and Özil, and they're doing their sort of little 1-2s and running around each other, and they just sort of, it's like watching planets when you see it you're just gravitating around each other. But then the best chance of the game then ends up go into Sunderland, the Barini chance, which luckily he decided to put straight at check. But after that, it calmed down a little bit, and we got a bit more of the ball, and it's really nice the fact that we've got Mesut Ozil in our team, because he was just amazing today. And Joel Campbell did the right thing, that as soon as you see Mesut Ozil's got the ball, just make the run, because he'll be able to find you. And as much as I don't think I agree with Abdul, I don't think Campbell is Arsenal quality, the sort of the level we want now. He timed his run perfectly, and he put the ball away, and that's all I can ask him to do at the moment in the team. Really, is try his hardest, and if he gets the chance to score, take those chances. I think the ball it's more about the ball than the run necessarily. And it was probably the one time in the first half where Sunderland's defence had really pushed up. I think credit to Sunderland, they actually had played pretty well up to that point, and their back three had really kept them in the game.
Yeah, I do kind of agree with some of that. Absolutely. The one thing I want to ask Jason, I want to ask you on this. John makes a good point. I think that the run and the execution of the pass from Mesut was just Mesut. It was class. But I said pre-recording that reminded me of an old-fashioned sort of goal back in the Invincible era. You could have imagined a Ljungberg and Henri Pires sort of opening the body up, sliding it in from an angle. I thought Joel Campbell deserved a bit more credit for the finish. It was a good take. Not so sure about this celebration. I think that has to go because it takes him an hour to get the dummy out. But yeah, do you think he deserved a bit more credit for the execution of the finish from there?
I do. It was very clinical, straight through the keeper's legs. Really, the only slot that he had to go with, and I was exactly like you watching. I thought, man, that's just an old school Arsenal style goal right there. It was very good to see. I thought Campbell was actually better when he switched over to the left today than he was on the right, and maybe worth putting him over there maybe a little bit more, giving him a run of games there while Sanchez is out. And that way we can keep the Ox or Theo out on the right hand side. So, but yeah, I thought it was very good. I actually enjoyed the celebration. Maybe he needs to figure out a different way to put the passy somewhere on his kit. Also, I do have a little bit of sanitary caution about why would you put a sweaty pacifier in your mouth? It's been in your crotchal region. That was another just hygienic. He didn't have any like hand sanitizer or anything to clean it off with, so. Yeah, sweaty crotch pacifier. # sweaty crotch pacifier.
Lovely, delightful. I often wonder about things players keeping short as well. I think if you fall at the wrong angle, that's not good, is it? I appreciate it's kind of plastic, but yeah, not sure I'd like that idea. Anyways, quickly moving on from sweaty crotches and pacifiers. So we're 1-0 up. One thing I want to cover before we look at the equaliser. We had a penalty shout. Abdul, what was your thoughts? Because for me, at the time, I thought, Giroud's just being Giroud. But I actually, looking back at it, I think it was Campbell. He barges through Giroud, gets nowhere near the ball. In fact, the ball is nowhere near him at the time. That for me, probably should have been a pen. What did you make of that?
It was a little bit like the West Brom incident where when it's given, you're like, yeah, by the letter of the law, it's a penalty, but you rarely see those given. Just those last minute pushes and shoves, and you have a big striker going down. I can see why the referee didn't give it. I was happy with it not being given just because I feel like had it happened to Koscielny on Fletcher, I would have been very angry given the soft nature for it. And I don't think Giroud helps with his dramatic. So I wasn't really obsessed with that sort of incident, and I was just moved on. Whatever the referee gave, I was happy with.
I do think you make a good point. Maybe the theatrics potentially, or the way he went down, maybe that was what made the referee's mind up, perhaps. But yeah, I thought it would be worth covering that.
I just got to say,
Yeah,
I
go on,
saw
John.
a couple of people on Twitter. I don't know, maybe it was just me. I thought the referee actually had a really good game.
I agree.
I thought he let play go on when he could. He called for the obvious fouls, and I actually thought most of the players as well just got up and got on with it. I saw a few people complaining about it on Twitter, which I don't know whether they were, maybe it was just me, but I thought he actually had a really good game where you didn't really notice him that much, and he just made decisions at the right time and let the players get on with it.
People complaining on Twitter, that's not usual, is it? So
No, that's
I
true.
don't usually see
Well,
that.
to be fair, it's normally me, so.
Yeah, but usually in a group, not on Twitter. But you're right. Yeah, okay, fair enough. So we'll sort of slide past that, and then obviously we gave them the equaliser. Big Giroud coming up, super finish, top bins, excellently taken.
One chance for goal.
It was
Unlike
a hell of a finish. Do you know? Do you know what the weird thing is? It was ironically much like the finish he's perfected at the other end, coming across the Fraser goal and flicking it to the top corner. But John, while I've got you, at that particular point, right before half time, in a game that I wouldn't say we dominated, but we looked comfortable, and I don't think we looked under too much pressure other than the odd breakaway. And then bang, we go and shoot ourselves in the foot, ball back of the net, 1-1 at half time. What was your thoughts on the defending, the marking, and more importantly, going in at the break? Was there a concern from your point of view at that point?
I honestly thought we'd probably go on to lose the game because I thought, although we perhaps we might have had more possession. I can't remember what the stats were for the first half, but as much as we might have had the ball and passed it around nicely at times, I thought Sunderland had the better chances in the game throughout the whole match. To be fair, not just the first half. And it's yet again set pieces. I don't know who's covering the two runners at the front post. It's an easy low ball in, and then the thing, the problem is on the replay you can't tell. I couldn't tell anyway whether has Petr Cech called for the ball or not. If he has, then Giroud obviously shouldn't go for it, or if one of the defenders, whether Koscielny or Mertesacker call, should give him a shout. If they haven't given him a shout, they should do, because Cech can come and collect that. And I think it's a case of having a striker who normally in the box when we're defending is actually very good if it's in the air because he can clear it with his head. But striker is trying to clear it on the ground. He's gone with his wrong foot. He should have gone with his right to clear it, not his left. But that obviously shows how one-footed he is, perhaps. So I don't feel like I'm blaming too much, but I'd probably put more blame on the defence and maybe Cech. Which I know we're not allowed to moan at Cech because he's amazing, but
You can moan. I mean,
he should have called for that. I think really because he could have come and collected that. But to be fair though, it was just a very good ball in. It's one of those things of perhaps we're sometimes guilty of trying to pick out a man rather than just put it in a dangerous area where it's difficult for the defence and the goalkeeper to go for the ball. So I don't think you can blame Giroud too much. Should have gone with his right foot, but just messed it up.
yeah, and as you say, probably had to get something on it. I don't think he could have afforded to have just left it. I thought, you see him all the time where a player just sort of makes a decision, and like you say, I wonder whether Cech makes the call. And I don't know if you noticed, but the one thing that I did pick up on was Toivonen actually seems to sort of pull out of a header. It's almost like he did hear a shout, whether that was from Fletcher or someone behind him, but he could have headed it, but he ducked out of it. And I wonder if. Go on, Abdul.
Sorry, I thought that's why Giroud went for it because of Toivonen just coming up behind him. So it doesn't. I think he did the right thing in the sense where even if Cech called for it, he sensed there was a player right behind or around ready to get onto that ball. So he sort of had to strike at it. It's just unfortunate how it worked out.
Yeah, and of course, as we've said on this show a number of times, sometimes you just got to give credit to the opposition. It's not always an Arsenal mistake, and sometimes you just got to say, it's as John said, good ball in, and
It
Giroud did
is.
the necessary.
It is still that concern though that we've got. We've said. I've forgotten how many times we've said it now, but set pieces this season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've got no idea how many times we've conceded from them now, but it's worrying because it's still something that hasn't been fixed, and
And the
it's
f-
not like I know we've got injury problems, but our defence isn't one of those issues. That is our first choice back four and first choice goalkeeper. That
yeah.
should be organised at least.
And that's the worry, isn't it? When you've got,
Yeah.
as you say, we bring in a goalkeeper of Petr Cech's level, to deal with how many times I listen to people moan about Szczesny and Ospina at set pieces, and now we're still doing the same thing. You can't just rely on the goalkeeper, can you?
Yeah.
Jace,
Can,
did you want to come in on that?
can we mention, and maybe just John said it and I just missed it, but good ball in, but how do we have two free runners at the near post?
Yeah, yeah.
Why was nobody going up there and running with them? It looked like Ox and Ozil sort of pulled off because maybe it was a whole marking situation and they was not their zone, but at the same time, no, it almost seemed like we put one in zone to defend two people, and I think that's why Giroud. But it's tough to have that. My first reaction was why did nobody run with them? And
Yeah.
why did we let not one? We're not talking about one runner. We're talking about two free
Two
runners
runners. Yeah.
go through to the near post.
And
Because that's
I agree with Carl
just
in the chat as well. Why is there not a man on the post? I mean,
yeah.
I've never liked that idea of no men on the post. At least the front post. I think it just gives you that, a little bit. I'm not saying he would have cleared it, but it just gives you that
Well,
little bit of protection.
we saw from one of our pieces what having a man on the post does in defense for Sunderland. We had one that off a set piece that we had cleared off the line by at the post. So
Yeah, there's an argument, isn't there? There's an argument for it. But yeah, so we're at 1-1 at half time. Obviously, we come out second half. We did look like a side that was going to push to get the second goal, and as you would expect, and we needed to. First chance, John Aaron Ramsey, roughly sort of 54 minutes. We'll come on to his goal later on, but prior to his goal, that was the Aaron Ramsey we've seen so many times, wasn't it? Just not taking a chance, and I do wonder if that's Giroud in that position, or I'm going to be cheeky here, but dare I say a certain Spaniard who's out injured currently missing that chance. We would have been all over it. So why do we give Ramsey a pass in that situation? Because it was a pretty clear-cut chance, and he really didn't take it very well, did he?
Yeah. It's. I've criticised Cazorla for being in the same position at times this season and not doing it, and Ramsey's no different. You've at least got to hit the target. Someone said earlier in the chat, Santi has cursed that position in the team now. I, I don't know why that seems to be an issue with those runners coming into the box. It's not just Santi, Ramsey. It's happened to, and it's happened to other players in the team. I don't know what's happened with that, but you can't criticise Cazorla all season and then not criticise Ramsey for the same thing. But yeah, he's got to be hitting the target there. All right, it came at him a bit quick, but it's still, even if it just make the keeper make a save. That's what you expect.
Yeah.
But I thought second half when we did come out, we came out and it looked like the manager has obviously said something, and I think the players realised themselves they weren't playing at the tempo and the speed that they should have been in the first half, and they certainly came out playing much quicker in the second.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. So we're going to, or looking at the situation, we're going into the game where we're sort of pressing for the goal, and luckily, I say luckily, it does come. The second goal, Jace, talk me through your sort of thoughts. Was it? Did you see it coming? More importantly than anything, because it was kind of at a period of the game where it could easily have gone one end or the other. Chase is on mute. There you are.
Okay. Here I go. No, I didn't see it coming. I thought we were actually pretty poor up until the goal, and that's when we got the second goal. That's when we started kicking on it. If you want my honest opinion on it, I thought it was a very, very good goal. I thought it was an excellent header by Giroud. Very accurate. It was great build-up play to it as well. One of the more sort of recent history, sort of it was a very modern Arsenal goal. Just sort of the interplay between the attackers and Ram. I want to say Ozil was in on it as well. It was just it was pleasing on the eye, but the most important thing was it gave a little bit of redemption to Giroud for the own goal. And Giroud's been getting slated in the comment box, and if anybody has ever um, sort of heard me on this show or on the podcast or on other podcasts, I'm very pro Giroud. I do feel like because his name isn't Henri or Bergkamp or Aguero or Suarez or uh, dare I even say Costa, he doesn't get the credit. Um, but I think look if you're to ask other fan of other Premier League teams um, about Olivier, they'd take him in a heartbeat. We're just very spoiled here at Arsenal. Pedigree of strikers we've had in the last 20 years, really. Just because Giroud doesn't fit that exact mold doesn't mean that he's a crap player. People are in the chat box are calling that he should score more than one goal a game. I don't. Messi technically doesn't score a goal a game. Like, let's not have unreal expectations. We did not score 35 goals a year. We bought him to score 50, 20, and to link up play between the midfield. And I think he's one of the absolute best strikers in the world at doing those two jobs. He has some goals, but also linking up our play. People were talking about, oh, he had such a poor performance before the goal. You've got to remember he's a lone striker playing against three central defenders in that 3-5-2 that they set up in.
Mm.
So he's always going to have one man constantly on his plus another to cut those balls out into him. And I thought, especially in the first half, our service to Giroud was absolute, just flaccid service to him. No pace, no drive, no intent to any of those balls. And finally, in the second half, our tempo in our play, we saw the ball in by Ramsey that I think all shouldn't be overlooked because it was a great ball in by him. Again, it was just on the pass by Ramsey and the header, it was just pinpoint accuracy. And I think we need to take a step back and hopefully fans, if Giroud moves on or retires or whatever, actually look back on his career and realize how much he did. And actually, he probably sacrificed a little bit of his game to be more of a team player for Arsenal, and we'll respect him a little bit more. Because you look at his finish today with his head, which even in the early part of his career with us, he didn't finish that much with his head. He's really grown that part of his game with us over the past few years, and he's never going to be the best striker in the world, but he's a really good striker, and we need to show him the respect that I think he's due.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I do, as you say, I do think we're very quick to jump on players. I know a couple of people in the chat are sort of said you should score more than one a game. Well, find me a striker that does, because I haven't seen one. I've got to be honest, I haven't seen one. So and I watch a lot of football. Abdul, Jace, by the way, you're a little bit roboty. I don't know whether it's you might just need to pull the lead out and plug it back in. Just I'd let you know, that's all. Sorry, see, that's a glimpse behind the curtain of ABW there. Abdul, the ball in from Aaron Ramsey, I just want to touch on that briefly as well. Very, very good little clip in. Some people would say, oh, he's just trying to hit an area or trying to hit a spot. But I thought it was very, very well crafted, and the build up to the goal was also superb. Possession football, moving Sunderland around. But that little clip into the front man in Giroud is a lovely little pass, wasn't it, for that assist?
Yeah, I just want to talk about the build-up just before I get to that pass. I thought Monreal once again showed his quality by I think he took the ball back, but then made a run in, beat a couple of people, and then put it into Ramsey. Once again, showing that he's flying under the radar, but defensively and offensively as well, he's just been exceptional. I don't think he's put a foot wrong for a long, long time. And then now when Ramsey finally receives the ball, I think it was very intentional. And even if he was putting the ball into an area, don't we say that that's what Mesut Ozil does? He puts it in an area where if the runner is there, they're going to get onto it and score a goal. So I think that if we give other players like Monreal and even Santi Cazorla that credit, in this case, Ramsey is due his credit. That was a great ball in, and Giroud with that diagonal run. I think there's nothing to complain about there, except we really in that little moment we could see what Arsenal is really all about.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So going 2-1 up. Then it was the classic Arsenal. We kind of, I wouldn't say hung on, but John, would it be fair to say that we were uncomfortable on the back foot, relying on breakaways? I know that Sunderland had a goal. They did have a goal line clearance, but they were on the front foot, and I think they sensed that they could get the goal. No more so than when Petr Cech made that super save from, I think it was Fletcher, wasn't it, the back stick, which could easily have been an equaliser.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, look, we said earlier at the start, didn't we, that it wasn't the greatest performance from the team, but the, I think there was obviously a bit of nervousness from the players and the squad. You're 2-1 up, and we were playing well, but then we let Sunderland come back into it, and I think maybe some of the players sort of got the, oh no, it's not going to happen again, is it? And if you're the other team, you get that sort of sense of, yes, right, we can do this now. And Sunderland played well all game. To be fair, I don't think they were poor. Um, they were getting good joy down the flanks from who's the young kid? Oh, I can't remember his name now. Watmore, is it?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Who I've never seen play before. I don't know how many times he's played for Sunderland before, but I know they only just recently sort of got him into the first team, but he was really impressive today. I think we left ourselves a little bit too exposed, maybe going for the third goal, pushing a little bit too much. And then I think you could see with the substitution that Wenger made, partly to try and get players off who needed a rest and maybe coming back from the injuries, but also to say, right, okay, we need to be a bit more defensively solid. Um, I mean, obviously we didn't really have much choice in who we could bring on because of the amount of injuries we've got. But yeah, I thought Sunderland but they looked more likely to score than we did. Certainly, I know we had a few chances on the break, but they looked like from set pieces still, and a couple of balls over the top. I thought Bellerin was positionally today was a little bit suspect. He was found out a couple of times, and Koscielny had a very strange game as well because he was brilliant at times. Some of the interceptions he made. I mean, and then there was one bit in the first half where the ball was coming over his shoulder as he was running back towards goal, and he controlled it with his left foot and then spun 180 degrees to take it past the striker, like all in one motion. It was amazing. It's the sort of thing you'd see, Ronaldinho do, not a centre back. But then other times he was giving away free kicks in silly areas where he didn't need to and making fouls, in positions that he maybe shouldn't have been. Um, I think there was an element of the players really wanting to get the win and maybe trying to force it a little bit too much. Um, so it was uncomfortable until the third goal and obviously the scrappy nature of it sort of really described the game.
Yeah, I think you make some very good points there, and none more so than the Koscielny thing. I think people don't really give him enough credit, as you rightly say there, for being a ball-playing centre half. The only thing Cos has got to work on, I think, and he's worked on a lot. Let's be honest, he's come on to be arguably one of the best centre backs in the Premier League, if not sort of around the continent. But he does have to work on when to play and when not to play necessarily, because sometimes he does just tend to overdo it a little bit.
There's like the stupid one on the young kid out on the wing where he's all right. He's turned Mertesacker inside out, but he's not really going to do it to Koscielny, is he? And he doesn't need to put his foot in. Gives a free kick away there in a dangerous position. Another one on the halfway line. All right, you get the old argument of, oh, you're a centre back, you're that high up, make the foul and run back quick. But he's not going anywhere, the player, so he doesn't need to make those. Just a few strange decisions. But then he does other things where he covers and makes a brilliant defensive tackle and wins the ball back and then sparks an attack. So just a few players today were sort of like, I think Abdul described it really well, sort of Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a fair point. I mean, as I say, I really love Cos. I think he's very. I wouldn't say underrated, because I think a lot of people that understand football do rate him. I think it's only people that don't really get football that sort of say, oh, he's not very good. It's like, right, really, who would you rather have then? Because there ain't many better around. If somebody says Vincent Kompany, I swear I'll throw my computer out the window.
Vincent Kompany.
Thank you. While you've piped up, MC Schrader. Third goal, ironically or kind of weirdly, Aaron Ramsey scores coming in from weirdly the kind of the left-hand side, which we've all moaned about him playing right. So I say we all, a lot of people have moaned about him playing right side, but he comes in from the left-hand side and sort of bundles it in. Like John said, it was scrappy. It was a scruffy goal. But at that point in at that point in the game, I can honestly say it was the first time I relaxed all afternoon. Did you get the same kind of feeling?
Oh yeah, it was, and it was one of those. I think we knew he was going to score there, and it was just funny that it would be Ramsey moving in from the left. I do think he had a better game. I do think him and Ox today specifically. I thought both of them, coming back from injury, their vision and the timing of how they would see runs was a little off, especially when they grew into the game. Both of them later on, and I think that's when you really saw Ramsey boss it. I'm really happy that he did the goal because I do like him playing centrally better. I do like him picking up with Messi. I think that's when those two were probably at their best, is when they can sort of just, like John said, orbit around each other up the pitch. It makes for really entertaining football to watch. And we saw when it goes later in the second half how good we can be with it. So extremely pleased for him. He's one of those players. He is a confidence player. So it gives him a little bit of confidence. Lets him go into these next few games, I think, on a really high level, especially we need to get a couple of goals in Olympiacos and Greece and push on. So I think, overall, I think that goal actually probably better described the game as a whole than maybe the other goals in the game, because it was scrappy. It wasn't the prettiest goal, but it got the job done.
Yeah, yeah, well said. And Abdul, just sort of summing up the game as a whole, I want to just touch on the injury situation. I feel like we should have like a klaxon of some description when there's an injury talk. But we touchwood didn't come out with any injuries today. I know Bellerin was moving a little bit uncomfortably towards the end, but I think from reports so far he seems to be okay. So we got through without injuries. We kind of had Theo Walcott on for 20 minutes. He looked fairly sharp, in playing right side, admittedly. Jace, that's beautiful.
I'm just getting ready for listeners' questions. Sam's moving to town.
Fantastic.
Questions for him.
But we should say touch on the players coming back. I mean, Jace has touched on it there. Oxlade-Chamberlain, I thought in particular, was quite poor today, if I'm honest. I'm not slating the guy. I just didn't think he didn't look particularly ready. And Ramsey, I think it's fair to say, was rusty, and that goal will do him the world of good. Where do you think this sort of leaves us with regards to the situation going into Olympiacos? I mean, are you on the train of we've given them minutes today, so they'll be sharper, or do you still have concerns that we're lacking options when we go to Greece in midweek?
I think we do lack options going to Greece. I am a little concerned. I was even surprised, even though for me Koscielny was the best defender, I was surprised he was chosen to play, given Gabriel can do a job. And I mean, if Koscielny was pulled off, why do you want to risk him so fast? So that's a little worrying for me to see, especially if Kostic gets the green light in midweek again. As far as the minutes go, I think, Ox will benefit from the minutes, even though he was poor, but you could see that he just wasn't up to the pace of the game. It wasn't just about what he did on the ball, it's just he was almost invisible a lot of the game. So the minutes will do him well. Ramsey, I thought he was rusty, but again, you have to, if you want to be positive, you should look at how many times he got into the right position. He could have had a hat trick today easily. And if he continues that in midweek, no complaints there. I still do think that we are one more injury away from Kieran Gibbs featuring as a first team member, not at left back. But I also thought Chambers looked good on the ball today. I'm not saying that he should start playing middle of the field or right wing or something, but I mean, if need be, hopefully he can do a job, but hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just seen Marco Royce just scored an almost identical goal to Joel Campbell's today. So yeah, there you go. Maybe he's one we can get for £10. I'm joking. Let's just sort of get your thoughts. Oh, one thing actually I should mention: the absolute filthy touch from Mesut Ozil, the flick. I mean that was I mean, I don't even know how to describe. Just filth, pure filth. The little touch, and the player had to buy a ticket to get back in. I mean, I have to just mention that because it was just unbelievably good.
Let's mention where Yedlin's from, by the way.
By physics.
It really does, yeah.
Those two things that you can't explain, but with physics, are Mesut Ozil's touch on the ball in that game and a woman named Lexi Pantera and what she can do with her ass. I'm still obsessed with this. I don't know how. Sorry, it's unrelated to football. It's the two things that sides can't explain.
If Danny's not here, you can rely on John to lower the tone. That's what we need.
One of us has got to do it.
It's true. I'm sure John will provide the link if anyone wants it. Not safe for work, boys and girls, and make sure the wife's out. AOG. Anyway, let's cover the bits and bobs of where we go from here. Obviously, again, we don't want to go straying too far from the game itself, but midweek now is obviously massive. Now, again, touching everything that's wooden in the building, but if we go there without any injuries and there's no injuries in training, I want to get all of your thoughts, just a straight yes or no. Would you start with the same lineup today, given the fact that you potentially have Theo, Ox and Ramsey available? John, would you stick with the same?
I think you have to. The one question mark would be whether you start Walcott up front over Giroud.
Okay.
Which I really don't know. It'd be one or the other. But the rest of the team, you can't really change anyone.
Fair enough. Jace?
I am going to go against the grain and say, yes, you change it. You sit Mertesacker, you bring Gabriel in beside Koscielny, because I think those two can really do a job together. And then John brought up the other, great point of, do we need to bring in Walcott for Giroud? I think Olympiacos will most likely want to sit back, so I think we're going to have a lot of the ball and try to just ping it into the box. So I would rather have probably Giroud in there for that. If Olympiacos was trying to attack more, possibly bring in Ox. But I think since they know we need to get a couple of goals, they're probably going to try to defend for their life.
Cool. No worries, Abdul. Which side of the fence do you sit on?
I agree with Jace. Even though I think the lineup today is the best lineup we can put out there, just if we can rotate it, it doesn't hurt. I think Wenger's taken so many gambles. Why not one more? I would put Walcott in because I think a lot of people complaining about Giroud today. I mean, he hasn't had a rest in forever, and he's not one to get injured or stop giving it his all. So I think he just needs a break. And I would also bring in Gabriel. I would bring him in for Koscielny just because I'm just so worried that after he had to go off and he's just going to come back and pick up where he left off. I'm really worried about that. So those would be my two changes.
Fair enough. Just out of adding to the pot, I'd do a bit of all three of those. I would actually keep Giroud in the side, but I would bring Theo in for Ox, and I'd play Theo the wide right role, but have him as almost a second striker, so just sort of slightly wide off of Giroud, because I think Olympiacos they're gonna know that we need 2 goals. I think they're gonna sit fairly deep. They're gonna play counter-attacking football. They're decent at home. That crowd's gonna be on top of us, and I think we need an outlet, and we need Giroud to be sort of solid in holding the ball up and releasing runners. And if you can get Ramsey going on but beyond the front man from midfield, if you can get Theo cutting in, you can get Mesut pulling the strings, you get the best of both worlds. But I just pray for no more injuries, and obviously and we get the result we need. I can actually see us scoring 3 there, but I'm just not sure how close or how much we're going to keep the door shut. So hopefully 3-1 and everything will be happy. Otherwise, people are going to lose their shit. Anywho,
I thought you were going to say bring Ospina in goal for a minute.
No, as much as I love Big David, I don't think that would go down too well, if I'm honest.
Can you really call him Big David?
Well, Little David, yeah, Little David. Some stats. I should say at this point we are going to invite listener questions because we've got around about 15 minutes left of the show. So, John, if you want to keep an eye, and Jace, if you want to keep an eye, and basically everyone keep an eye. John, if you want to write a few down for me, and I'll come to you in a moment. Just while people are getting those questions in, let's have Danny Corner, as I'm going to call it from now on. Stats. So possession 63 to 37 in our favour, 3 corners to 2 in our favour, 4 shots on target, 7 for Sunderland, which is interesting. 4 shots wide, 6 wide for Sunderland, 6 fouls to 11 in Sunderland's favour, 1 offside apiece. And as far as the table goes, so we're up to second place now on 30 points, 2 points behind Leicester. Who continue to stay up there. I still don't think they're going to remain there, but in light of Man City's loss at Stoke, Manchester United's draw at home to West Ham, and some other team drawing away at West Brom. I think that keeps us in touch ahead of Liverpool, of course, who've got to play tomorrow. So we're in a good place. Whatever you look at the performance, we're in a good place. And it was watched by 59,937, or at least that's what Arsenal will tell you. We're in the ground. Right, let's see what we've got here then. Listener questions. John, do you want to start us off?
No, nobody wants to talk to us today.
I don't know.
Wait a minute, hang on. I've got one now. Who is our first choice striker now that Walcott is back? And that is from Guardian Dandy.
Oh, I'm going to give Abdul and Jason both a go on that one. Abdul, do you want to start us with that?
For me, it's Walcott. Just because I think it's easier to start with, I think Walcott just has a finishing quality, and Ramsey and Ozil just benefit with him running in front and scaring the life out of defenders. I also think that if Walcott isn't effective for 65 minutes, then you can bring Giroud on, and that's a very complementary system for that to work. So, given all these advantages, that's why I would go with Walcott.
Fair dues, Jace?
I think it depends on who's playing and where we're at. If a team is going to stack and defend, no point in bringing on a 6-foot strike balls into the box too. Let's bring Giroud on. If we're playing somebody who is going to have a high line, who we can play balls in behind of, let's bring Walcott on. I think the best thing that we have is for the first time in a few years we have options up front. Is the most important, as opposed to having one person. We can adjust our style of play. You would hope that Arsene Wenger would adjust his style of play to whoever we're playing and how they're setting up. So I don't necessarily prefer one over the other. I'd rather, if somebody's going to defend a lot and park the bus, I want Giroud in there. And if somebody's going to play a high line, I'd rather have Walcott. So that's a perfect way to not answer your question.
No, I agree. I do think nowadays you have to pick a side based upon who your opposition is. You can't just go, right, let's just pick the same side every week. So I don't disagree with that. John, next question.
This is from Bavia. I hope I've said that. I've probably butchered that. Sorry. Leicester surely can't finish outside the top 4 now, can they? I'll go on, Chris. You can have that one.
Yes, they can. I do think they can. Say straight off the bat, credit to them, like massive credit. I mean, they are proving a lot of people wrong, but there is usually one side every year. Granted, doesn't usually last this long, but I do think Leicester's squad depth is not the greatest. The two players in particular that are relying on are, i.e. Mahrez and Vardy. If one of those was to go down or indeed be sold, which is a possibility in January, I do think they would struggle to replace them and replace the goal threat that they give. Cracking result today, but I think it's fair to say that Swansea are probably going to be without future Arsenal legend Gary Monk after today. I think it's fair to say he's probably going to get the chop. So shout out to all those that wanted him to replace Wenger. Nice one, boys. No, I don't think Leicester will sustain it. And to be honest, if they finish in the top 6, even the top 8, that's going to be a massive achievement. I do think they'll get top 6, but I think us, City, United, Spurs, Liverpool, potentially even one other will finish above them. So don't think so. But if they do, then fair play, and I'm happy to be wrong.
Yeah, I've been really impressed by them this season. If we don't win the league, I hope Leicester do. There you go. My sort of they're not really a hipster team because they used to be quite good. So you can especially pretend they are. Right, we've got a couple from Everything Rude Everything, but there's one I wanted to ask first. Another one from Bavia. Again, I've said your name horribly wrong. Just insult me on Twitter and I'll be fine with it. Sorry. I'm going to give this to Abdul. Why do you guys think we are struggling defence when our injuries are in the attacking areas?
Well, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it is Coquelin. It is Coquelin. I mean, the amount of work he does, I think everyone's appreciated what he does, but I think it's even more so showing now because it's the positional discipline, the athleticism to get in the right areas when it's needed. And I've always believed, even before we had a problem at DM, that you could have the best back 4, but if you have let the whole team, like 6 or 7 players, run at them, it doesn't matter whether you have John Terry in defense, Company in defense, whoever you think is the best combination of defense. If you have 4 to 6 players running at them in one-on-one situations, it's never going to end well for the defense. So I think even though the injuries are in the attacking area, that Coquelin absence is just so crucial. And I think Bellerin and Mertesacker's form is down. It just makes sense. As soon as Coquelin went off, Bellerin and Mertesacker started struggling, and it's just no surprise there. So that is a huge miss, and I still think it's the only position we have no cover for whatsoever.
I'm inclined to agree with that. John, before you ask your next question, I've got one for you for a second. It's from a bloke called Tom. I don't know if you know him.
He
No.
sounds like a right idiot.
He does, don't he? Yeah. Well, I'm glad I picked you for this question because you're going to love this. He says, how important is getting through the Champions League group in terms of the players we could bring in January? Would being in the Europa League have a bearing? Now, I think what Tom's saying, and I do totally take his point, and I'm only being facetious for a laugh, but it would potentially affect. You know, we've heard this week that Santi Cazorla could miss potentially the season. Danny Welbeck might be dead, not sure. I'm joking, of course. I hope he's not. But we don't know how Jack Wilshere's recovery will be, and of course that is allowing for no other injuries, which we know, of course, we'll get. So, do you think there's a potential that we could hit the market in January and without go? I know you've got a couple of names. Maybe throw those into your answer.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions from different people about buying a replacement for Santi in January, or do we wait until the summer? And a few names that have been thrown about. To answer Tom's question, thanks Tom, great question. Obviously it is very important being in the Champions League. The problem is whether we actually go out and buy anyone in January, which I don't necessarily think we will. I know some people are now disagreeing with it because of the amount of injuries we've got. I just think the players that we have coming back means that Arsene is less likely to, and he has so much faith in the team that he's not as interested in going out in January. I don't think there's necessarily anyone we could get in maybe on loan. A couple of the names that have been chucked out, Bender, who I don't know whether they mean Sven or Lars. Lars Bender's injured, if I'm correct, he's got an ankle injury.
Yep.
And yeah, he's just not going to leave Leverkusen. And well, that's a player who we could buy because we like buying injured players. But he probably won't leave. Krychowiak, he's just signed a new contract, or recently signed a new contract, and his release clause was upped. I think we could get him. But again, I don't think it's a player who we go and buy. Ruben Neves is someone who's been linked with us heavily. He's possibly he's the one person I think we could end up getting in a January.
Has Twitter approved him?
Yeah, Ruben Neves. He plays for
Porto.
Porto, yeah. I think he's the one more likely we could get in January. But the problem with him is that he wouldn't come in and immediately affect the team. But in my opinion,
one for the future.
Maybe, next season, he'd be great and everything. But I don't think right now he'd be what people would want necessarily.
But the key question, John, is what's his defensive position rating on FIFA?
or indeed, how good does he look on YouTube?
That is also true. I've got no idea. I've never watched him on YouTube. I don't even think I've played with him on FIFA. So
I can tell you a little bit if you want. I mean,
I probably shouldn't comment on a guy I've not watched on YouTube or played with on FIFA. I've watched him
commenting on guys we haven't seen. That never happened.
No,
I have watched him play real football, in which he's quite good.
You can't judge on real football, John. Don't be so ridiculous.
Do that.
No, he's a real talent. I mean, I would just worry, like John says, about the we need, realistically, I think we need players. If we are going to bring anyone in, we need players that I know Abdul jokes there about Kallstrom. He only joins Champions League clubs, but we need almost like a Kallstrom figure. Obviously, not with a back in two pieces, but somebody who's experienced, who knows not necessarily the league, but knows the European football, is ready to rock and roll straight from the day they turn up, or 2 or 3 weeks tops. We can't. I don't think we can take a chance on a player that is potentially a future star. There's no doubt about that. I'd rather see us, if we were going to go for Neves, I'd rather see us do it in January, like the Podolski Shamak situation, where we do the deal in January and bring him in the summer and give him a chance to acclimatise. I think going for a title plus an FA Cup and potentially a Champions League run, depending on what happens, we really need players that are ready to rock and roll now. And if I was to pick if I wouldn't like to give names, but what I would say is we need to look at the teams dropping out of the Champions League and potentially dropping out of the Europa League. And I think I'm right in saying, John, am I right in saying Sevilla could actually not go through the Europa League
Yes,
either? Yeah.
at the moment, Gladbach, hopefully they go and spank Man City in the Champions League this week.
Mm.
Yeah, if Gladbach get, I think they probably only need a draw because Juventus are playing away to Seville when they can still play for top spot. So Seville could end up
Yes.
fourth,
Yeah. So I
and
mean,
not be in the even Europa League. So
and if that happens, of course, then you could see some of Sevilla's players potentially being sold, if not for anything else, the fact that they're not cash rich and they may well accept a big bid. And okay, yes, people will say, well, Krychowiak, for example, has got a big buyout clause. That doesn't mean we have to pay it. It just means we have to offer Sevilla a good enough amount of money for them not to turn it down. And 20, 22, 24 million might be too much to resist if they know they're not going to get that for a player in the summer. So, it'll be interesting, but. You could throw names all day, so it's a tough one.
yeah, I just don't have any confidence that we'd end up getting anyone in January. I just think if Wilshere does come back on time, with Ramsey back now, Oxlade-Chamberlain back, I know obviously Coquelin's out. Probably, I know they said like March, maybe, didn't they? Maybe it's probably the season,
Yeah,
realistically, isn't it? Because by the time he gets back from the injury, and then you've got to training, get out to
rehab it.
match
Yeah,
it's
I suppose
realistically.
it's I suppose it's different in how recovery time as well. I mean, some players, like I think
Oh
Wenger
yeah,
said in the past, some come back. He does strike me. I would say about Coquelin is he does strike me as a guy who's quite robust,
yeah.
and the fact that it's taken him best part of 18 months to pick up one sort of lengthy injury, which again it wasn't the fact that it's not a muscle injury. It's obviously one that he took a bang, and it could have happened to any player. I would say if there was anyone likely to come back early, he would probably be the one. Whereas with Santi, the role he plays and the technical ability, he needs to have full movement and needs to be fully right before he comes back. So I'm not sure we'll see Santi again this season, unfortunately.
If anything, weirdly, this will sound very, very strange. If we went for anyone in January, I think we're actually more likely to go for a forward.
I agree. Yep, totally
Um,
agree. Or a
which
number 10 at least.
which sounds bizarre, but
Mm,
I just think that's a much, much more likely, whether it be a striker or a winger.
mm,
Just because the amount of players and the fact that, as much as I don't rate Joel Campbell, he's someone who you maybe now could get a better fee for,
yep.
and then you could use that money. Not that we need the money, but it's an incentive to go out and get someone else.
Or indeed use Joel Campbell
Yeah,
as
as
the
part of a make
yeah.
weight in a deal for someone. Yeah.
Or indeed, of course, keep him and say, right, let's just buy a forward instead and keep Joel Campbell as a first team player. You
Oh,
never know.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So you heard it here first, boys and girls. We're buying Messi. Next question, John.
Right, I think that was all the transfer-related ones. There's probably more.
Yes,
Couple
there
more.
always is.
Here's a good one. Jace. Everything rude. Everything asks. Does Oxlade-Chamberlain need a loan?
No, he needs game time. We've seen that he's got the quality. He continues to be injured. He needs to make sure his rehab is well, and then I think it maybe gets under the rug because I think their styles are slightly different. But he does tend to kick the ball a lot at his feet into defenders, and he gets a lot of those kicks and knocks like Jack had. Um, you do that, you start limping a little bit. You trains on various muscles. So I think uh, he's probably going to be those injury-prone type players. But once we've seen what he can do with a run of games and how good he can be, so no, I wouldn't loan him. I actually really sort of like him as that sub off the bench that you can bring into a game. He can play out on the wing. He can play in the central midfield. He can do a lot of different things for you. So I think he needs more minutes right now. I mean, he is coming some time away, so he needs to rust off and get some quality minutes against good teams.
John, I just want to
Yeah, go on. Sorry,
just
Chris.
no, I was just going to say I just want to interject very briefly to say Danny has just messaged. He said, "How did it go? Only just got dressed. FFS, which we all know what that means.
Yeah.
Needed a long sleep. Didn't even know we won till 5. So there you go. That's Danny. So he's doing well. He's alive.
Speaking of Danny, actually, on that point about Oxlade-Chamberlain, I can't remember whether it was on the radio or a podcast a little while ago. You made the point about Oxlade-Chamberlain not having a loan out,
Mhm.
and the fact that Jack Wilshere did and how it helped his development. I
Yep.
do agree with Jace that Ox needs minutes, but
Mm.
a couple of people have put in the chat the problem is that the Ox is not. He'll get the minutes, but only when there's space for him at the moment, like there is now.
Mm.
So I kind of see. I think he's missed that gap where he could have gone out on
Could have
loan.
gone. Yeah, I agree.
And now he's got to play, but he needs more time on the pitch. The problem is when everyone's fit, I don't think he's going to get on.
And
Uh,
and a shout to Daniel Cronin in the chat box who said Oxlade-Chamberlain needs a loan. Is he buying a car? Quality, love
Oh,
that.
and there is Danny in the chat as
Oh,
well.
there he is.
Yeah.
Nice of
Everyone,
you.
yeah,
Nice of
everyone
you to
say
join
hello.
us.
Good morning, Danny. It's not even more US anymore.
And we've got a
Lazy
couple
bugger.
more.
We've got you can do 2 more quickies.
Okay, 2 more quickies. Okay, this
Yeah.
is a quick
She
one
said.
for everyone. Everyone can give an answer on this. Again, everything, rude, everything. He's always got the most questions, but they are normally very good, to be fair. Who should be our next captain? Should he be a regular playing player or and not another Arteta? So everyone have a pop on who our next captain should be, because it's not going to be Arteta next year because he won't be here.
Abdul first.
Peter check all day long.
Yeah, two votes for me.
Jace?
It should be a leader, and maybe we should go buy a leader. 'Cause I don't think there are too many in the team right now. But Petr would be fine. Somebody who can lead and knows how to lead and has been a leader.
Yeah, that is a good shout. I would back what Jason said. I'd like a midfielder who's a proper leader.
Aaron Ramsey wouldn't be terrible.
Yeah, I think Ramsey's one for the future.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
I mean, we could just give it.
The best
We could just give it to Flamini because he points the most.
does point a lot. Yeah.
That's a good point, though, Jace. I mean, I'm not convinced by Ramsey as a captain. The one thing I would say of Ramsey is he's. It depends what sort of captain you want. If you want a leader and an organiser, I don't think Aaron Ramsey's your man. If you want a guy who leads by example, then he probably is. So it depends what you want. And I think Arsene tends to go for a captain who leads by example on the pitch rather than organises. So Ramsey's not a bad shout, but I think Czech would be the logical step.
Coquelin could maybe come into the record.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
Coquelin if he calms down a little bit though. Like he can't be that animated when he's captain. He's gonna have to pick his moments, but that's a good shout.
And he's integrated.
I kind of like that. I would want him on the pitch like when Sanchez got pushed into the camera pit.
Yeah.
Where he
Could have been killed, John.
I would have loved Coquelin on the pitch because I would have hoped that he'd run up to Bennett and grab him around the throat.
Yeah.
And what did he say after the game? I was trying to help him. I was not trying to push him in.
What a crock of shit.
This
Sorry,
is how
man,
you
have a day
hold
off.
somebody.
Have a day off. Honestly, what a knob.
And a couple of quick ones. Boyten Dio. Here you go. This will be. I'll give you all a yes or no, just to be really annoying. Is Joel Campbell ahead of Oxlade-Chamberlain in his development and in the squad? Chris.
Yes. Yes, he is. Right now, yes, he is.
Jace.
Absolutely no. Chris has been on the drugs again. Forgive him,
No,
everybody.
I haven't. You said currently.
No, I have Ox ahead of Joel for me. Sorry.
Okay.
Just because you're coming back from an injury doesn't mean that you're not ahead of somebody else.
Can I just clarify? That is on current, right where we stand right now. Not his whole career. Not how good he might be. Just right now, I think he is.
Still take Ox. Still take Ox, Chris.
That's fine. I've got one very last question. I'm only going to ask this because it's a really good question, and it's from a new person, I think. So I'd like to give new people a go. It's from Guardian Dandy, which is a brilliant name, by the way. And he says, given Santi's age and long-term injury, could this mean the end of Santi's career at Arsenal? I wanted to ask that because I think that's a brilliant question. Now, I don't think it is, and quite frankly, I'd have Santi immersed in wax and left in Arsenal for the rest of his life because I love him. But just very briefly, all of you, do you think that could spell the end for the little magician? Jace, do you want to start?
I will start. I actually think it's the end of him in the first 11 at Arsenal. I think he will come off the bench. I sort of prefer a Ramsey Coquelin, the dynamism that you would have in that midfield over sort of the tiki-taka sort of metronomic passing of Santi or Arteta. So I do think that there's a place for him on the team. I just don't think when he comes back it's in the first 11.
Cool. Abdul?
Jay stole my answer. I felt like he read my mind there.
Damn Americans.
It's crazy. Yeah, I was gonna say it's not the end of Cazorla at Arsenal, but it is probably the end of Cazorla as a starter. But he still has a lot to offer: leadership, coaching. Coaching the younger players. Great squad player to have. And I would love to see how Ramsey Coquelin play out for the next few years.
Okay, and John?
Depends how much we get offered for him in the summer.
That's an interesting answer. Yeah, that's an
Because
interesting
well,
answer.
there's two things. It depends how he comes back from the injury. Because I don't know anything about injuries. You have to ask Dom if it's one of those sort of ones that can really disrupt the way a player plays his
Mhm.
game. I know Wenger was talking about afterwards that the injury basically prevented him from making sort of lateral movements or something, and
He
he
had
was
to
only
run
playing
straight lines, didn't he? Yeah.
straight lines, which is he's a lot of his game is about changing direction quickly.
Mm,
So if he's going to end up as a player who is less mobile, he can still do the passes, obviously.
mm.
Then I don't think you can afford to play him in the team.
And would his game suit going back to La Liga potentially?
Yeah, you
I
could
get your point. Yeah.
maybe La Liga or like there's a few Serie A teams that could do with him right now. Lazio
Mm.
would be one.
But what is a fee that you think he would go for? I mean, if he's not getting that much time on the pitch in the second half of this year, are we driving his fee down? And what I mean,
Mm. And he's post 30
If
now.
someone came in,
yeah,
if we had a suitable target that we knew we could get, or we were getting, or is already done behind the scenes, or whatever, as our new midfielder to play next to Coquelin, or someone who's going to compete with Ramsey for the position to play next to Coquelin, then
isn't his name Jack Wilshere though?
That's a good point. If
yeah,
he's
no,
fit, of course.
I love Jack.
We've not mentioned him at all, and when he is fit, he's good. Again,
Yeah,
But
I
that's
love Jack.
the the problem with this argument though is that it's too complex at the moment to know what Jack does when he comes back, who's coming off an injury. It's still early. My big thing is I just with Cazorla, you're not going to sell him for $8 million,
no.
no matter who you have, because he's a better player than that at the time. But that may be the realistic offer we get from a team in La Liga or Serie A, because they're going to think they can get him on the cheap. I just don't know if the fee that we will get will. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good debate to have, though.
It's
And I'm
got the
sorry I
whiff.
interrupted everybody. Go ahead.
No, that's
No,
all right.
that's
It's
good
got
point,
the
James.
whiff. It's got the whiff of Borja Valero at Fiorentina, hasn't it, John?
Yeah,
That kind of player that
he's
goes
that
and
sort of player. He can play there. He could obviously go back to La Liga. And again, it depends. I don't know how he comes back from that injury. What he's going to be affected like.
and
Hopefully
it
we can get Dom on at some point, and he can talk about it. I'm sure he'll be on the main pod at some point, and he can discuss that. But
and
then
drawing.
there's
Go
so
on.
many different variables in that. Have you got a player coming in? How much can you rely on Jack Wilshere? Because he can definitely play the role, but is he going to be fit enough all of the time to do it? So there's so many different things into that.
Yeah, I agree. And drawing a line under that, and it is a really good question, so thank you very much for that. But drawing a line under that, it also depends just how much Nabil Fekir costs when Lyon inevitably crash out of the Champions League spots in Liga. I'll just leave that one hanging. Just leave that one hanging.
Not coming, Chris.
Yes, he is, John.
No, he's
FIFA.
not.
I signed him on FIFA, therefore he is. Now
He's
shut
not,
up.
because you then have to move Mesut Ozil, and that's stupid.
Oh, we can play them both, John. Just ride the dream. It will be fine. Anyway, right.
10 strikers on FIFA.
YouTube, FIFA, whatever. Anywho, right, we'll draw a line under that for today's show then. Thank you all very much for the questions. Thank you all very much for joining us. I've seen a couple of regular faces there, Carl, Natasha Nunez, some bloke called Canton, he's been there all day as well, and obviously everything, Rude Everything, and a few others, some regular names there. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you to the newbies. As usual, you can follow us at the Bergie Radio on Twitter. The account is mainly used when we're live for obvious reasons, but still give us a follow, and obviously we can speak to you on there, or if not, you can follow us all individually. The podcast on Thursday, no idea who's on it yet, because we've got to play Olympiacos first, so obviously we will be back on the radio for that. Is it Wednesday or Tuesday? Wednesday, isn't it, this week?
Tuesday.
That's a good question.
Oh, is it Tuesday?
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday. Okay, there you go. So don't tune in on Wednesday because we won't be here.
And
Tune in
Chris
on
will
Tuesday.
tweet out the correct link so that you can watch the YouTube page and not join the Hangout.
You stole my thunder there. Yes,
Wednesday. I was wrong. Wednesday.
Oh, it is Wednesday. Okay, tune in on
It is
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yes, I did tweet the wrong link. I do apologise. Even average hosts like me have days off where they get things wrong. Sorry about that. But yes, do tune in on Wednesday. I know Tom will be with us. I think Akib will be with us, and potentially Simon, one of our bloggers. I just have to confirm whether he's actually free. So So tune in. We will speak to you then. Thank you very much to everyone for joining us. Oh, one other thing I just remembered. One quick announcement. Neil, who you may remember from our blogging side of things, he's managed to complete a £5.5 million transfer deal, and we've got him for the radio. I had to talk at length with OG to release his contract, but we have got him out of the bloggers and onto the radio show, so it just suits his schedule more. And obviously he's been on the radio a few times and was very well liked. So we have brought Neil onto the team, so you can look out for him joining us on future episodes. So welcome aboard, Neil.
OG did insert a buyback clause.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He inserted it, but he did insert one.
He did, yes, absolutely. Anywho, right, so thank you very much for everyone to joining us. Thank you, and get well soon, firstly, to Abdul.
Thank you so much. Pleasure, as always.
And thank you to Jason, even in that ridiculous hat. Screw Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
Banter Claus will be here throughout December. Feel free to at me.
Don't at me, bro. And thank you, as always, to John as well.
A pleasure, as always, Chris.
Good stuff. So thank you all for joining us. Appreciate it. SoundCloud link should be up later on when Danny crawls out of his pit, and we will of course retweet to watch the show again. So thank you very much for joining us, and we will speak to you after Olympiakos. Cheerio.